So this year, one of my big projects is bodybuilding and self-esteem. It's not my personal project, although I'm pretty sure I've done my own experiments with my own personal life when it comes to bodybuilding and self-esteem, but this is actually for my university dissertation. And I created a survey and I sent it out to people when they did the survey, and I'm testing their self-esteem, I'm testing their levels of resilience, I'm testing their weightlifting habits and all this stuff. And naturally this leads me down the rabbit hole of self-esteem. What is self-esteem? What is resilience? What is the relationship between these variables? And it's got little to do with academic interest. I don't care too much about the knowledge. I care more about, what is self-esteem? Like, what is it really? What the hell is resilience? Be real about it. Like, what is it? What are the traits that go along with it? What does it look like in a human being? How does it impact their life? And most importantly, how does one cultivate it? Because we all know resilience is a good thing. And does resilience equal self-esteem, high self-esteem? And does high self-esteem equal resilience? Don't know, so let's find out, right? But what I did realize is self-esteem is generally something that is created when you're a child. And we like to hold on to that self-esteem that we created when we were a kid. That's what I learned. We like to hold on to it because it's the first thing we identified with. It's the first thing we identified with. And I know that when I was growing up, I was coddled a lot and I was treated like a helpless little boy by everyone. If I made a mistake, I was immediately coddled. Everyone came around me, helped me out. So I didn't really get a chance to develop any hardiness, any mental strength whilst growing up. So my self-esteem generally tends to be quite who's going to come and help me, the kind of deal. And I need help, but I can't do this by myself and this shit. It's annoying. It's annoying because when tough times hit the fan, usually that's the first voice. It's the voice of helplessness. It's not the voice of I can do this. I've been through this before. I can get through this. I got this. I've been through worse shit. Nothing can break me. These are the kind of voices that go through my mind now. But it's when shit really hits the fan, those inner demons really come to the forefront. And that's kind of when shit's hitting the fan. When shit's really hitting the fan, when it's externally going to shit, but then internally it's going to shit. You're like, okay, this is the next level now. You've really got to be alert then. You've really got to be alert. So anyway, the stuff that I found out about self-esteem, generally it's cultivated when you're a child, when you're young. But it's also based on how you're monitoring your behavior all the time and whether it's aligning with your beliefs about yourself and your attitudes, and also other people's reactions to you, other people's what's it called? It's the self-relevant social cues. So people of low self-esteem are really sensitive to these. That's what I learned. People of low self-esteem are really sensitive to other people's reactions to them, especially the negative. Now, obviously, they exaggerate the negatives and they exaggerate the positives. So they feel great when there's a positive social reaction, and they feel nasty, terrible when there's a bad social reaction. People ignored you, people didn't laugh at your joke, whatever the fuck. So, and people with high self-esteem, they just don't care. They just don't care. Any reaction that doesn't fit their own self-view of themselves. Let's say you're a person with high self-esteem and you love yourself unconditionally, you just like yourself, and that's it, that's your self-concept. But if there are people in the room that don't like you, you just don't care. It just doesn't bother you because it doesn't fit in your reality. You love yourself, you care about yourself, it doesn't fucking matter. Low self-esteem people can be like, why doesn't he like me? He's a cunt, he's a dickhead, gets all mad and angry, all butthurt. And of course, the other thing I learned was that low self-esteem or even high self-esteem are both connected to how much you know about yourself and how certain you are of your abilities. This is a really interesting one. So people with high self-esteem generally have a good self-concept. They understand their abilities, they understand what they're good at, they know what they can do, and they have metrics for this. They have a metric system. So I don't mean the fucking imperial metric measurement system. I mean they've got a metric to how they measure. Well, I just fucking said it, didn't I? They have a measure of what constitutes their success, their happiness, their behavior. Therefore they are happy, and therefore they are kind of congruent with themselves in a good way. Because they know themselves. Haha, Socrates. They know themselves, and also therefore they can now have a consistent view of themselves. Whereas people with low self-esteem have a very unprecise view of themselves. They don't really get themselves, and they're always shifting, and therefore they're very much dependent on the views, opinions, and the behaviors of other people, or even situations and the outcome of these situations. So I can give you a good example from my history. You walk into a room, you have a great social interaction with people, you're having a laugh, everyone's laughing at your jokes, people are smiling everywhere you look, you're on cloud fucking nine, you walk out like, oh, that was great, I feel so amazing, your whole day looks great, I'm the best, man, I'm the greatest. And then like 5 minutes later, you walk into the room and everyone's like kind of just down, don't really talk to you, just giving you one-word answers, doing their own little thing, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, we just had such a great time. They were laughing at me. What did I do? Maybe I did this. Maybe I did that. And you start getting into negative self-judgment. Well, this is what I mean when I talk about people with low self-esteem and having this very situationally dependent view of themselves. Whereas people with high self-esteem don't need a situationally dependent view of themselves. They just view themselves as great, pretty much. They just have a positive view of themselves regardless. Now, if anything in this video sounded similar to you, be it high self-esteem or low self-esteem, that's great, because you will fit into one of those categories regardless. And number two, if you find yourself leaning towards the low self-esteem category, number one, don't be ashamed of it. You're in the majority. You're in like the 60% majority. I reckon 60% of people have low self-esteem and 30% have high self-esteem, right? It's or just even a moderate self-esteem. But don't be ashamed, because number one, you weren't born with high self-esteem. You were born probably with no self-esteem, and you were given low self-esteem by your surroundings. And training. This is so important. Like the training that you go through as a child is so important. And if you were not given any training to be a human, to be a stoic adult, and I don't mean cold-faced, stone-faced, emotionless. I just mean as a stoic. If you've read any stoic philosophy, it's very simply about your priorities in life, focusing on your priorities, focusing on what's important, what needs to be focused on, what's in your control, and not getting lost in the details of that, and also not getting lost in the things that are outside of your control, and not losing yourself in them, and not going crazy about that. And when you are hit with adversity in your life, which you will, which is probably most likely not under your control. I mean, if it is under your control, then you should feel bad about that, but you keep it moving, don't you? But most of the time, adversities are not going to be under your control. A financial crisis, you lose your job, your wife leaves you, fucking whatever, right? You don't get lost in that either. You keep it moving, right? That's the training I'm talking about, which you probably never got. I mean, I know kids that have got that training, and as an adult, and the fathers didn't hate them, like they were training them well, but they were being tough with them at the same time. These kids have very high self-esteem in their adult lives. Okay, they have very high self-esteem in their adult lives because they're taught the valuable lessons of self-reliance. They're taught the valuable lessons of focusing on what they need to be focusing on, to focus on their priorities. They're taught these things. They're taught to be self-reliant, to love themselves conditionally and help themselves and, you know, respect themselves at the end of the day. You see, if you have low self-esteem, you can improve that today by listing 3 things that you appreciate about yourself. Yeah, because here's the thing about people with low self-esteem is you're constantly looking at situations in your life to validate your sense of self, be it good or bad. You've got to stop doing that. You've got to become aware of this habit. It's all it is. It's a mental habit. It's an egoic habit. You need to stop that and begin to look more towards your positives. Forget about situations for now, because situations come and go like the wind. To have your emotions attached to external situations like that, to give them your sense of self, can you not see the flawed nature of that? You know, you're attaching your emotions to the weather. Like, you don't have to do that, is what I'm saying. You don't have to do that. You can attach your emotions to the things in your control. You can attach your emotions to your actions and your goals and your abilities and your talents. You can begin to appreciate yourself a little bit more, yeah? Look at what's good with you. Start small and don't be greedy, because I'll give you a little tip here. When you begin to show gratitude for yourself, and then for those around you in your life and for your life situation and all this stuff, when you begin to show gratitude, doors start opening. Doors start opening. Things start coming to you. Life starts putting things onto you bit by bit, and you'll become greedy and try to gobble it up and attach your self-esteem to all of it, and then it's going to poof, gone. And you're going to be left and be like, what the fuck, I just had the world. Don't get greedy. Be humble, be grateful, and just realize that, number one, everything's going to come your way because you are inherently enough anyway. You don't need anything. This is the most important lesson I learned in my 20s, is you don't need anything. The only things you need are food and a little bit of it. You don't even need that much. Okay, you want more food if you want to bulk or put on muscle, cool. But you don't need that much to survive. You don't need a house. You want a house. You just need shelter. You need something to keep away the rain when it's raining at night or in the day. And you need like some bedding, you know, to keep away the creepy crawlies at night so they don't eat you. So that's alright. That's what you need. Okay, but you don't want. I mean, you don't need a house. You want it. You don't need friends. You don't need friends. Again, you want friends. They're great. They're allies. They're people to talk to when you feel down. You can go to them when you want to chill and just have fun. And don't get me wrong, it's a great joy. But you don't need friends because you don't want to die without them. You're not going to die. You'll feel a bit lonely, but you'll get over it. You won't die. If you're out in the wilderness, you're not going to die. What's going to kill you is a wolf, hunger, starvation, a lion, or another human. So you don't need these things. Yeah, you want them. That's what I learned. So low self-esteem people are constantly going to be looking at the external. I don't have this, I don't have that, I'm not like that, I'm not this, da 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 da, and you're constantly focusing on the negative. You're constantly looking at things in a glass half filled kind of way. People who have high self-esteem, people who are successful, people who get what they want in life don't think like that. That's what I'm trying to say, is they don't think pessimistically. I used to think pessimistically. I used to be a Debbie Downer. I used to always think of what I don't have and what I lack now. And I used to be like, fuck, I don't have this thing, you know. And getting all angry and then drawing up my battle plans as to how I'm going to get it. And it would always fucking fail because I wasn't coming at it with any kind of creative energy. I was coming at it with an angry, forced, pissed off, undeserving energy. Like, fuck, I don't have this, fuck you, you know. I'm gonna get it, you bastard. And it's like, that didn't help me. That didn't help me get closer to my goals at all. It just made it harder, and the things ran away even more. Like, get the fuck away from me, man. I don't want to be around you, you needy fuck. Um, and then I started giving to people. I started becoming a little bit more grateful. I started just enjoying the everyday moments. I didn't really care about whether this worked out or not. I didn't even base any sense of importance based on the outcome anymore. I just based it on how I was acting and what I was doing. And sooner or later, the two collided. The more I did things that made me happy, the more things started coming my way. And, my friends, my relationships, intimate or otherwise, have just exponentially grown this year. And it's like, it's scary how it's grown, but at the same time, it's like, well, I could kind of see it happening. I could see this happening from the beginning. Like, I knew it was going to happen because that's the direction I was going in. I already set my sights on these goals. I already set my sights on how this year's going to kind of go, and what kind of life I want to lead. And the journey's been all preparing me for this. So it's like, I'm not surprised when it happens, when I get what I want, because I kind of knew that it was always going to come anyway. And that's spooky. It's spooky because what I'm talking about here is manifestation. And yes, manifestation is very, very real. It works exactly the way it's been told to you by everyone. What else can I say about it? It does work. It's not fake. It's the human art of alchemy, and it does work. It's, like I said, with absolute certainty, the law of attraction, all this shit. But yeah, I can make an in-depth video on this stuff, but I'll do it maybe a year or two from now, when some of the things that I'm kind of thinking about manifesting are here with me, and I can kind of I don't even need to show you them. I can just speak with more confidence about it. But what I can say with confidence right to you now is manifestation is very real. This whole year has been one massive manifestation for me. One massive manifestation in many positive manners. And, the most important thing I've manifested is myself. The transformation that I've gone through, the kind of person I've become. I'm very proud of who I am now. And that was all through just getting on with it. Just getting on with it, man. So anyway, I started with self-esteem, and we kind of drifted off to the law of attraction. So yeah, I want to stop it right there. If you want to increase your self-esteem, appreciate yourself a little bit more, show a bit of gratitude for yourself a little bit more, appreciate other people, look for the positives in them, and make it a mental habit, because the reason you've got low self-esteem is you just have a habit of focusing on the negative about yourself, most importantly, and then other people as well. It kind of just spreads, doesn't it? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.